welcome to another episode of The Lifting. I'm here with Sean Bond today, and we are going to be discussing a variety of topics, energy work, what he does, and his site, Psionic League. So, Sean, take it away.
Hi, I'm Sean Bond of Psionic League, psionicleague.com and YouTube, and I like to upload videos of evidence of super normal abilities of humanity and how to advance our psionics of accumulation of psychic abilities for the planet from all these different civilizations all together in one, how to advance our evolution, how to make this world a better place, and growing collective of that. And yeah, we like to make videos of abilities and how to do them so anyone can learn, and then yeah, overcome all the challenges of life and make it wonderful adventure, and yeah, overcome adversity and strife and pain and unnecessary suffering. Yeah, can you also, for like, because I may upload this, so can you tell a little bit about yourself as well?
Yeah, people, our viewers know me. I'm Christopher Jacobs. I'm one of two in the lifting, or one of three in the lifting. My mother's part of this as well. May Joanna, my mother Katrina. And I do psychic reads with people. I clear land for them. I get rid of demonic entities and offer products that help block certain entities and certain energies coming into the house, such as 5G, things of that nature. Different orgone types. And I help clear attachments off of people. That's generally what they want from my sessions. And I usually look into soul history, see if anything's anchoring anything to them, any sort of entanglements within the soul somewhere that could be anchoring something demonic, either from the multiverse or from past lives or something of that nature. It could be another expression of them, like you like to talk about, Sean, or it could be something else from outside. I'll get rid of that. I've also advised people on finding haunted objects in their homes. Sometimes, things that could be anchoring different beings into their house. Identify different cryptid types for people if they're around, like from elemental to also galactic races. And I try to find, also similar to you, Sean, I try to find something in them that is either being blocked or they could be empowered in some way by bringing out a certain ability of their own to help keep their home clear. Because I'm not one of those that likes to maintain a situation. I try to show them what to do from that point. It's one of those teach a man to fish sort of situation. I don't like, having to rehash the same situation over and over again. Just maintaining a space. I show people how to do that on their own. And it's been daunting at times, but especially recently, some of these energies have been really massively just all over the place. And it's been difficult for myself trying to even fix certain things about myself lately. So it can be daunting. I'm not going to begrudge anybody going through their own shadow work, but it's worth it in the end. And I've noticed there's been a great deal of calm that results from that type of work. So that's generally in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah, I do a lot of the same things, so I can definitely relate. It's one-on-one now, and um, yeah. What kind of because we can go back and forth, we're questioning each other and stuff. Kind of abilities have you been working on that you've been most excited about recently?
People know I usually bilocate to different places and able to remote clear and do all this. But certain abilities have come about lately. The more I clear out of myself, the more I see that I can instantly manifest certain situations. Not just by just thinking about it, just kind of just basically creating the path and walking it to a particular location. It's like it could be something as simple as say generating a parking space in a parking lot, to say finding a house to live in or an apartment, or finding a particular person, or coming across people that you need to be around. I've noticed that with a lot of people there's kind of a weird manifestation filter in place, and in some people it's thinner, where between thought and co-creating it is much quicker. And I've noticed that the more I start to shed certain things about myself, that filter thins. And so I have to be very careful at certain times, what I say, what I do, I'm having to be a little bit more kind of anal retentive about that, but not in a fearful sort of way. But I've noticed that certain abilities will come about the more I clear, the more I notice to be cleared, and the more I notice that a greater open path for myself and my spouse Joanna and the other people around me start to open up, and that starts to clear more. You yourself have helped me through that as well, to where I resolved a lot of stuff from the past, and it opened up a great deal more of a path that I had not seen before, as well as new information has started to come about that have either corrected some things that I thought were true in the past and I had it inverted, or it how can I put it? It actually expanded on specific topics, like certain types of clearing, certain types of, like what stones do, what my what my own energy is capable of, what my own genetics are capable of, and it started opening up some of these other areas for myself. So it's uncharted waters even for myself. So if people think that I'm always completely knowledgeable just because I'm helping them out with something, no, it's because I'm experiencing these things as I go along, and then I know how to assist them through that. And with what I'm creating, even what our purpose was with the lifting started to shift and change after a while, the more that we were encountering. So it's exciting, it's daunting, but it's also exciting at the same time. At least for myself, it can be stressful for me and Joanna too, but she's also sees it as a point of just going into uncharted waters and expanding, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Have you been having fun with it?
Yeah. I have been discarding a lot of the old, like I have notebooks I write in all the time. I do automatic writing and everything, and I had this mound, I mean, sizable mound over the years that formed, and I noticed that it started to get bogged down energetically, and it started to really be heavy, and it's because I was at a different point in my life at that time. So discovering these things, yes, it can be stressful. At the same time, it can be fun, getting rid of, what doesn't serve anymore. There is a certain level of fun and excitement to it, but there's a certain level of stress on the flip side of the coin. Doing that, I've been burning these. I have a little can out. I have a can out in the yard here that I've been burning those in once I've been going through them. And once I do that, it seems to clear up an enormous amount of energy and opens my pathway into an area I hadn't considered before. And so, yeah, there is a certain level of fun. What about yourself? What is it that you find exciting about your work?
Recently, well, everything, but unlocking things, releasing blockages, been doing a lot on portals. Just got back from like this galactic conference thing. Uh, Read a lot into the different ET connections people have. There's a lot in the audience, so it's a big remedy for a lot of soul groups coming to peace. What can be done to bring it as a greater likelihood for people that want to have ET contact to increase the likelihood of that, as well as there are ways to do that through telepathy. Um, also been amplifying magic quite a bit and reading into uh, what it takes to bring the magic back within ourself or in the entire planet. Yeah, so like that kind of things has been recently taking up my thought patterns quite a bit.
Mhm. Same here. I've noticed that the energy dynamic is changing so much as I'm clearing up different things to where I can expand my own sets of capabilities. From magic to wizardry, all that type of stuff. It seems to that my genome and my energy is taking on more of that wizard-like persona, and even though some people have called me that in the past, I tend to merge warrior and wizard together. And doing this, I've noticed that the changing in the dynamics of how I conduct the way I conduct business or the way I do things has changed dramatically even in the past year. It's just completely gone off the rails as far as information, as far as expanding, also trial and error of what different magics work, which ones don't really anymore, which ones like some of the old wives' tales or some of the old magics in the old world. I've tested each thing kind of like almost in a scientific way. I've kind of tested each thing on our environment to see what it does, and it's dramatically improved our state of living. Even some of the targeting we've been under has dramatically reduced as a result. So we found we haven't gotten completely out of that since both me and Joanna were in the programs. It's sometimes tough to get away from that Sauron's eye that watches you sometimes, but it's we found stricter ways energetically of getting away from that, and trying not to give a reaction to anything negative that shows up. I was always bad about that, where I would get into shouting matches with certain things all the time. I was horrible about that, and I've started to change that. I've also noticed certain beings around us that we once not necessarily relied on, but once thought were higher up in their education weren't as much. And it's just that they were there to push us towards something, but it's not that they were evil. It's just that they were no different than we are, just in a different frequency layer somewhere. And so some of the old teachings from a while ago that we were more relying on as a foundation has started to crumble. We've more grounded to the earth now, and it's starting to come out better in a different way in that area. And to me, that there's an excitement to that when we come across new information, but then that goes with people as well, where a lot of them have kind of drifted away from us, as we start to move forward. We've noticed like people we thought were allies have started to just drift, and so we're basically, it's basically what the universe and spirit is telling us is we have to do this ourselves. We can't be completely reliant on others now. And that may seem simple to some other people, but we didn't realize we were doing certain things and being in certain patterns. And then when Spirit decided to brick wall us a couple of times, it's like basically a brick to the face. And so you can always tell when it's Spirit or when it's a negative entity. And this was genuine Spirit saying, hey, stupid, this is, you have other options here. So this is how we conduct ourselves. Like when I came to you recently for a session, I was in rather a bad way, and it was kind of like on this teeter-totter or pendulum swing kind of space, and that's where there was this breaking point where I had to shatter other perspectives about myself and maintain different timelines about myself as well. And when I eased into that, it got a lot better and a lot simpler to do things. And things that we thought in our life were, it's much harder also has been for us to get as far as we have business wise and as far as we have, professionally than some others. And I always questioned this. I was like, why in the hell did this happen? When I stopped focusing on that, I was like, it's like, okay. And I still have to keep this side of me in check where I'm constantly looking, going, wait a minute, why does this person have it easier? When I stop doing that crap, it gets easier. So it starts to get a little easier. So I'm horrible about that. Even currently, I'm horrible about that. But it's like, but getting out of that, there is a certain level of fun. When we went on vacation, we reconnected with what we needed to reconnect with nature. And we didn't realize how far removed we had been from the earth, and until we went back to the ocean. And so now that we realize that perspective, that's why we're moving out there. Come the not necessarily spring, but it's still going to be like just before spring, we're going to be out there. So that's going to be the exciting part, because we're not going off of what other beings told us to do. Like when we moved here, we had beings saying, oh, you must do this. Now it is, yeah, whatever, we're going where we want to go. So yeah, that's just how it is. That's why it's more exciting, because it's more in a state of sovereignty than in service to anything that doesn't have our highest good. So that's how it is for us at the moment.
Cool. And like we can do like readings on each other or whatever you want to do and wing this
Yeah,
show.
this is a wing it interview, folks, because both of us have had kind of our brains scrambled a little bit here recently. So, uh, this morning, even when I got up, it was slam right on the top of my head. Somebody was trying to get this not to happen, and before when we tried to schedule this, it was like smack. So it was pretty bad.
Every time for me as well.
Yeah. It's like a brick hitting you in the top of the head. So yeah, thankfully it's okay now. But yeah, let's see, I'll go first here. Let's see here. When I
Yeah,
tell
may I
you,
tune into you as well?
yeah, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Like,
We can do that at the same time. Yeah, that's great. That's it. All right. Okay. So there's something heavy in your immediate environment there. Let's see. Okay, because when I get heavy on the chest, there's usually something in the immediate environment. It could be an object, could be person. Are you in an apartment?
nope.
Okay.
In a waterfall now. Yeah, just my regular room that I have the stuff. But yeah,
Okay.
it's been heavy since all the midterm stuff coming up with other countries trying to influence things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thought forms that are around it. Yeah. Yeah. They could also, if you have any objects or anything like that that might have images of that or have any imprints of that, that could cause this as well. So it's been rough because of the election stuff. We're here in Arizona, so there's a lot of
Oh,
turmoil
joy.
around it. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Oh boy.
It's been pretty bad in
You're
that area.
the main battleground state is you, because the other one's already, or cleanest selection of all time.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Another reason that we're trying to kind of get away from here. That's just another reason because in couple years past, even though it's been rather seemingly neutral, it's had a lot of emotional turmoil, a lot of energetic turmoil, and I saw these weird chains of events happening in 2023 a couple years ago, like spring of 2023, where I was seeing the first street to street fighting. That timeline changed to more of emotional turmoil and more of energetic turmoil. Instead of turmoil, it changed over to what it is now. So, granted that some areas that's not much better, but it can cause the other one. But in your area, you're in New York, correct?
Yeah, around there, Connecticut, the one state over.
Okay. I don't know why I kept seeing your energy in New York for some reason. I was
Well, they attack us quite a bit. It's like the big stronghold of darkness in the general area.
Okay.
So,
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I'm seeing like there's an anchor of yours over in New York. I keep seeing your signet over there. There's like this cord that is going in like this V shape that's like coming down from New York. And that's why I kept thinking, okay, he's in New York. I was picking up New York, but this is a cord that really isn't needed. It looks like somebody has taken part of your energy and did this swap, and there's this cord that's on the other end of this rubber band here. So I can clip that real fast, but because this obviously doesn't belong because you're obviously not there. So
sure, I track back a bunch of reptoids underneath that they have a power structure there, so they're stealing a lot of parts from people and then doing this Dreamtime invasion to the surrounding area. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see that. Oh yeah, I see them. There's a group of them there that they have this. I'm seeing this blue force shield around them, and they're aiming upward from underground. I'm seeing these crystals on their head. I'm seeing like these almost like a unicorn looking crystal on their head, unless this is just energy. But I'm seeing this. Yeah, I can see this is definitely their stronghold. I'm going to cut this cord with you because this is causing you harm here. So.
Well, and I'll like read into stuff too. Yeah, I usually like go back and forth between like positive things you've been unlocking and other things to like take care of that would be limiting you. So one, I see that you've been working on your antidote for all evil. which has been getting better and stronger and spreading to multiple AI that force and tangle with you. Yeah, good job. Not many people are good at that.
Thank you.
Then yeah, and with the antidote, that's like a spreading like code for the AI, as well as empathic connection that you can turn on a being's heart or love or empathic ability. And they are out of um, their ego boundaries of just thinking about themselves and not seeing everything as themselves. For any negative aspect, I'd see like any holding down of your abilities. Um, just like going like in previous sessions, we talked about the first two would take care of a whole bunch all at once, which is everything that's trying to attach to you is going through the layers of your shadow, and the ego, like with everyone else, has to get through those barriers, and they try to inflate to compress and quarantine them away from the rest of your spirit and soul. And so you're taking on some big predators, some the size of the planet, some the size of the galaxy. So like loving it while we're doing the talk to that big pressure on the heart. That'll represent healing those parts of yourself and the alters that are taking up the weight of whenever they started trying to connect to you, and that'll shrink that down. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that same thing. Yeah. I agree with that completely. I've done even in the past month. I've actually done a lot of that work, disconnecting myself from a lot of these altars and different timelines that don't serve me. And Joanna always says I tend to bulldoze this quite heavily, but I move a large amounts of energy. And this, with you, I see something similar where you're disconnecting at a very rapid rate from different timelines. I am seeing, okay, I'm looking at what I call an altar map, and I'm seeing a few dots on the map here that are affecting you even currently. There, you're reducing these. I can see clearly you're doing this, but it's there's like these little orange dots I'm seeing on the map. There's also those reptoids are trying to make it so it seems like it's greater than it is too. Like you have a padded, like they're trying to pad the list, so they're trying to get you to think it's greater than it actually is in some areas. There are some things that are big, but they're trying to say no, look over here instead of over here, and they're like an afterthought to you though. It is that's very good. But what I can do is reduce down this just a little bit here. There we go. Okay, and in your core, I'm seeing that they try sometimes to take your voice from you. I keep seeing right here, and there's like a black spot right there where they keep trying to, like how when I channel beings, they're trying to do a smaller version of that. It's like a small like bug version of that. Like if you were to try to hijack someone's voice, but it wasn't quite like that. It's like just like a fragment of it to try to get some codes out there. So it's not a lot. So I'll pull that out of there because that's the longer. So what I do is I just melt it.
Well, yeah, I get a lot of things that try to attack my throat, and it's like a lot of it goes back. It used to be different things. Now it's like that Darth Vader choke thing at distance, and then so I just like learn how to flip that back on them, and then they stop after. But
oh yeah, I mirrored back at them. One of the biggest things that attacks people right now is they try to form a narrative in your head. The AI and the reptoids and all them try to form this narrative in your head, like say, "Oh, this person's gonna die," or "This is gonna happen," or "This bad thing's gonna happen." I was standing in the garage one day, and I felt this narrative going through my head, and then what I did is I created a positive ending for it, and then closed the circle right away. Nice. You would have swore I would have like stabbed a knife in someone's back at that point because they were so pissed when I did that. So it was they're like, how dare you actually mirror this back at us? It's like and they Joanna learned to do that too. My mother learned to do that too. They were so mad at us when we learned how to do that, and we've been passing that information on ever since. And they've gotten seriously angry at us for doing that. But with you, I'm seeing the throat, and also have you had trouble grounding lately too?
Um, yeah, all the time, but like it's um I guess kind of like common now for me. It's because I'm like sometimes it'll happen because when I test how much energy I can produce and then that unground, or like something will try to shut my grounding off just so that it can overload with me with a type of motion. I see that with my clients as well too. It's very common. So I just do a lot of grounding exercises, especially for
Mm,
bed.
somebody's trying to compact your energy to get put an over amount of motion in you. This is the same reptoid sources or reptilian sources. It's they put things
Mm.
over the feet and like these energetic films over the feet. And also, you can collect, unfortunately, you can collect entanglements. This is generalized information where people can collect entanglements as they're walking around. And these reptilians take advantage of this by putting little spikes in the feet and putting these little wraps on the feet. And this can prevent grounding. But it looks like you have a propensity to burn this off fairly quickly. It's just that there was just a little bit. I noticed there was like maybe a centimeter of space between you and grounding. There was just not much. It was just like this little bit. It looks like you've been working on that daily. It's just that you've put this in your subconscious to where it just automatically just kind of happens sometimes. It's I've done that too, where I put like my protection and my armor plating in my subconscious, kind of like when Tibetan monks go through their mantras and they put it in their subconscious. I do the same thing with protection, uh, and it looks like your core is doing pretty damn well actually. I'm looking at that. Your heart space is getting large. It looks like you've like when you read me that time, you said my ego was quite large at the time, and I had to shrink that down.
But there no like egoic when I say that, like everyone has that. And like I try not to trigger because the ego like is watching with that, but it doesn't mean you're egoic. Like that is when the ego controls a person.
Yeah,
It will
yeah, exactly.
always grow big when when a person's taking on a big predator and it's trying to prevent that. It's a survival mechanism. So it happens to me every day. So don't like that's no insult at all. And the
I
bigger
didn't
it
want to
gets
insult
with
it.
you
Yeah,
not
yeah,
getting
yeah.
the bigger it gets with you not getting egoic is the more impressive it is to me, honestly. So
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's a difference between survival and going after a predator because you have to channel that strength to do it versus being incomplete egotism. There's a big difference
yeah.
there. Yeah, I'm glad you
And then
pointed
the
out the
more you
difference.
integrated that with your higher self and the lower self, the more power it goes into divine ego tech as well. So you know, the protecting shell to the dormant divinity within kind of thing in the
Mhm.
egg.
Yeah, I'm glad you distincted the difference there because some people think when I say ego that I'm calling them an egotist, and that's not what I'm saying at all. So I'm glad you pointed that out. Man, the energies
You
are
in
getting kind of
Sedona?
scattered here. Hmm?
Are you near where in Arizona are you around?
We are in a neighborhood called Granville in Prescott Valley, actually.
Okay.
Uh, uh, it's the energy here is not that great. I've put up a lot of protections and a lot of spells and everything in place here to help protect it. Uh, but the energies they can get fairly dense here, and they can lighten up. It just depends on the day here how bad it
Do
gets.
you get attacked by the Draco underground in Phoenix?
Yes. Oh yeah. We go down there for psychic fairs sometimes, and they're there. There's also this negative cat species that has popped up too. This Black Panther looking cat species too. There's good Lyran species we've run across. We've gone across good elementals and such around in this area, but like forest people, Sasquatch, some dogmen types, but the Draco have been a pain in the butt down there. Yeah. Uh, Down in Quartzsite area, down even further south, they have a stronger presence down there. There's like a mountain or hill area up there where they tend to have ports in and out of the inner earth there. But they've been pretty nasty. They've been trying to hit us from down there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading is like 90% what's hitting you. And also that's cool that you talked about the negative lions, because I just wrote down a Draco lion hybrid that has AI interaction. It seems to have been a DNA offshoot that's been captured by the Draco and then programmed by them after the Lyran and they invaded Lyra a while ago. And then yeah, brought so they now have that. So that seems to be also something that's targeting you quite a bit. Interesting. Uh, Let me go into that. You wrestled a lot of your stuff back from them. They're still trying to have a presence with you. It's mostly in attachment and programmed creations. You got most of your wholeness from them, so they don't have your stuff. Yeah, so they're mostly imprinting on you and blocking you and trying to drain your energy, but there's a constant tug of war with that. Unfortunately, with you. Then yeah, with the positive things, I also read that you're getting, for some reason, good at simulation tech, which is rare. I don't run to many people are good at with that. You okay? So with simulations, I go into there's a psionic version of it. It's like 1% of beings are allowed this. So the dark, if they have it, they stole it, and it needs a remedy. And then also it goes along with the matrix stuff and putting like a catcher's mitt around a person to catch their energy and get them into a cycle of some type of belief. Not quite reaching that belief, but like getting them to believe they are and then stealing their energy. It's like the way out is always within, through the source connection, going back to your as a branch of the infinite, and then going above and around that and to the original authority that created it, and then restore them and get them to relinquish it. Or you can also capture the simulation itself too, because it's a technology that it's not made by the evil user. And then you so it looks like you've done some things like that to go within and go beyond it. So keep up a good work with that. Not many people are out of that catcher's mitt, unfortunately. What's your experience with simulations?
Simulations, yeah, they try to trick me with a lot of these simulations all the time. They try to these Draco and them try to imprint different holographic simulations so that I pick up the wrong thing or I tell the wrong bit of information or something of that nature. When you were saying the good primarily had it and the evil stole it, I was getting the example from Star Wars with the lightsabers with the kyber crystals. Only the dark has the red lightsabers, and because they stole that and forced it to bend to their will, versus the Jedi that just let it be the color it's supposed to be. That's the example I was just being shown with that, like a simplified more example of that. But that's what I was being shown. But with simulations, I first of all, I get a lot of examples from shows and movies. That's why I presented in that fashion. But it's easier for people to understand what is being said that way. But with simulations, I can create whole constructs where even a being, like a negative being that tries to come in, for instance, will think they've tricked me by entering a certain construct. They think they're doing something to me when I'm actually doing something to them, when I'm actually turning it around on them. Or I will create a simulation where, as a narrative plays out that I'm trying to manifest, or like if I'll put myself in a particular situation, a room, a situation with a particular person, and I create the simulation and therefore ground it and then manifest from that point forward. That's kind of like how I utilize that. Or like I said, I use it as a trap for negative beings. Joanna created one not too long ago because we had a big throng of ghosts that these Orions and such were trying to throw at our house not too long ago. She created a construct by which they could pass through this construct and go straight to the spirit world from that point and not be used and abused by outside sources. So she did it in a dream sequence. Like her higher self came in and created this construct, really elaborate construct, And my brain interpreted it as like an old like West Saloon or an old like hotel or something like that when I looked at it. I said, "Did you make it look like the old West?" She's like, "No." And then we found out ghosts that were entering there were from that period. So it was like, so it started to shift and change a little bit. But with you, the positive things that are happening on your end is you're doing something similar. It looks like where you are. How can I interpret this? You're walking that or trying to walk that manifestation to where you are creating this positive simulation as you go along, to where these Draco, like those nearby ones in New York, for instance, are having a fairly tough time trying to get to you. It's just that they're so focused that they're going, okay, we're going to get this guy, we're going to get this guy, and it's but you're doing a fairly good job of actually doing the same thing. And I'm seeing, oh man, some of this is fairly fuzzy what you're connected to, but I am seeing you put yourself in a variety of different positive like constructs to be able to say either identify a problem or identify an entity trying to harass you or something like that. Like say you visualize walking down a beach or walking down somewhere in a peaceful forest or something like that, and then you might try to see them breaching the space. Have you done that?
Yeah. Yeah, like flipping the dream and then making it so that they get caught up in it, and then it changes their heart from within. Because there's usually a corruption. There's like I have like mazes in my mind as well as my defense barriers and like a lot of constructs of. It's like what you were going into with simulations, but I use them for both defense and offense in construction, belief, and then goals met in belief, but then to visualizations that bring some type of change internally through viewing, and then that as a way to reach deep into the heart of evil and then turn on its light, and then yeah.
Oh, and flip it and invert it. Yeah, that's very interesting where you put it like on an automatic. You called it like almost like a dead man switch, or it kind of flips and inverts, at one point. And I started incorporating that into my revocations and into my words and such, where I've written that. And people were wondering what the whole dead man switch concept was. And I said, you explained it to me quite a while ago as, when they try to breach inverts and then flips their light switch on, essentially. Yeah, and that's essentially what I've done as well. Dreamtime invasions have been very prevalent lately. It's been fairly difficult at times, sometimes protecting that space without that kind of holographic or that kind of construct in place. Also, finding all the backdoors you have within oneself has been fairly difficult. I know you helped me close some, and that helped out a great deal. I saw a couple with you that they were trying to hijack. I call it like a hijack point, where it's kind of like where they've hacked a section of you somewhere, and then they come in through the back door. In some people, I see it as this elaborate like hotel or apartment resort looking thing with a bunch of doors that beams are coming in and out of. Or like a maze or something like that. And what I do is I have my higher self comes in and starts to help deconstruct that maze, or deconstruct that and get it down to where the person has no back doors. And that's how I operate in sessions if I find those. And also timelines that I call have pins in them. Like you were telling me in my session, whereas there were certain anchor points where they were kind of hacking my own timeline that way. I found several of those, but within people, I find these little pins in their timeline, where if I extract the pin and try to smooth it out and put that in the sunlight, I then see all these different layers where like beings like Draco or Orions or some other Dreamtime invader or somebody, or if the person was in some kind of secret space program or something like that, I see those points in the timeline. And I noticed with you a moment ago that there was this little, it wasn't very big. You've been doing a very good job at keeping this at bay. You have a lot of defenses up in that area. And I'm also seeing this is very interesting, where you have this defense where, like, say if they're using a type of geometry to come in to hack, you have this inverted, oh, how can I say it? Or they have the inverted where it's this geometric defense where it cancels out their geometry and it kind of just does this, where it just kind of particleizes it and cancels out their geometry. That's what I'm seeing, two different geometries intersecting. And it's a very interesting set of defenses. I've done this myself, where then when you see them in that dreamscape or in that mental scape, in that construct, that's when you use that to invert their space from dark to light. That's essentially how I'm seeing. I know that's the viewers might not be comprehending what I'm saying, but it's so that's how I'm viewing it. That's how my brain is interpreting it. But that's very interesting, and the energy is going way up while we're talking. I've noticed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I like this. We'll keep it going, and the viewers will get some tech out of this too. So I'll just like go what I read real quick. So I read that you're getting better at exorcisms. I've also been getting good at that, and with the different equations that can bring it up to intensity and make it. I want to get it instant. So I'm working on all the aspects of that. So you looks like you're getting better at, especially with your higher self, and then that like being integrated into you, vanishing and commands. So getting forcing beings out of the space, and then where you send them, and then authority gained from that in territories going outward, and then you feel free to comment on that but I'll go into a little like good with that also what we're also working on right now with evil death. It's similar to ego death. The same thing with shadow death, like shrinking it down to where it's not there, and cutting it off, quarantining a big evil, shrinking it down and cutting it off from all points of power it has connection into us. I read like a bunch of things in New York, like this big entity that invaded from a hell realm, tried to attack you and then imprint evil. So you've been holding that pretty well. I've also been dealt with that as well. So we're taking care of that now, but you just needed to point out because you're already good at it. And we're shrinking down the evils. It's like little units of evil energy put in, and you can capture them, clear them, purify them, turn them into the word is weirdly oxymoronic, positive evil energy, which is like any energy possible can be turned into a positive. It's just like, what is it purposely used for? If you capture evil energy that's been put at you, get it off you, get out of your body, and put in like I put in a little simulation pocket dimension place that's like a little paradise, so that like they heal up for every type of little energy. And then if you get it detached from its old user and get it healed up and nice and as a caretaker that it is okay with, because all these energy units are conscious. If you have it purified and turn into positive, if you find like an actual evil person that's like deserving of like their own suffering brought upon them through natural law, especially if they're like vampiric and their energy aura, mostly in shadow, ego, or evil, is extended out and stealing energy from people. If you take one unit of purified evil energy and you can like look through natural law to see like what earth and source within all sources approves of, you can put one unit in that person around their solar plexus. It'll compress their evil aura down and quarantine it so it doesn't attach to other people. So it, like,
that's interesting. Yeah.
And then because they're trying to release their suffering onto others instead. No, it compresses that to them, so they only them get to experience it, unless they're gonna probably do some other dark magic with other entities to try to get their suffering off of them, which I keep seeing them do, but whatever.
Oh, I see that a lot. When I'm out in public, there's people that have a great deal of attachments on them that they just turn into attachment farms and factories. So it's like that makes sense, having like a little seed within them, a quarantine seed that keeps that on them. When I was going through my shadow work, when I started this quite a while ago, I was with roommates, And they reported back to me they were experiencing sickness, they were experiencing like dizziness, all this other stuff. And I didn't realize that as I was doing that shadow work, as I was transmuting that, it was also triggering them to start the same process, and it was spreading to them, and they were experiencing things like vomiting, they were experiencing things like dizziness, emotional mood swings, all this other stuff, because they weren't at a stage where they could operate on that level, and it was affecting them. So I had to find a way to quarantine that to myself as I was going through the same thing. It's the same process. And yeah, what you're saying about the exorcisms, I'm finding quicker ways of doing this. Like I can literally reach into the person and grab this, whatever it is. I just go and just grab it. But yeah, I do transmute. People always see me cutting heads off stuff and everything. What I'm doing is actually transmuting it. People, see me. I put it into simplified terms. I've cut its head off. I've killed it. Stuff like that. What I've done, the technical side of it, is transmuting it, and I've turned that consciousness into something of nature, something of that could possibly be used somewhere else. It's actually transformed into something else. Like last year, last year around this time, I had a Draco reptilian pop up through the floor of the house, and he was in a different frequency, but he was still pretty solid to where he could do stuff to me, and I managed to get rid of him. So when I cut his head off, what I did was I released any of the soul energy that he had on him that he had captured. And then I basically put a big net over that construct that he's in, and I uncreate that, and I convert it into when I burn that off, I'm converting that into a more productive energy to be around humans and in the universe somewhere. It's essentially an audit, is what I'm doing, and essentially it's Benevolent Source Creator that is also conducting this audit on this, because there are bits of overage that stay outside of that construct, and if you find those, these are things that are outside of natural law, so you have to reconform it back to that particular set of rules, and if they're outside of that. And that's essentially what I'm doing. That's the technical side of it. Some people I read don't always want to hear the technical side of it. They just want to see that it's gone and its head's cut off. So it's like, that's how they react. So that's essentially what I'm doing when I get rid of a demon or get rid of something like that. And I also acknowledge, and this is something I came across very recently with a friend of mine, where there was a version of him within the multiverse that was more Orion based. He had gone completely dark or evil, and it was essentially, think Multiverse of Madness, where it was just another parallel universe where he had gone wrong, and he was trying to control other versions of himself, very much like in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where he encountered that one that was killing other versions of himself. I ran into that with him, and I managed to get rid of that other version, and it leveled out. And then he managed to see other things after that. After I opened him up to that, he was able to see these other versions of the multiverse as well, that the Oversoul had put in different expressions and different levels of reality. And we were able to level that out. What that energy was when I got rid of that version is what I was leveling the energetic playing field a little bit, because it was starting to harm him and confuse him here. And it seemed to work. As soon as the head came off, it completely transmuted. And it was basically breaking the rules of the multiverse and natural law there. So it had to be leveled after a while when I saw that. So I know it's a mouthful, but that's basically what I personally run into.
It's a very good movie. It's very triggery, and the different alter timelines and them bleeding. But I do read them bleeding over quite often and affect this timeline and a lot. They're more dramatic, like in getting my attention when it's like a timeline of destruction and fear, and it's like bleeding over to this one, because it's like, well, where did all that fear come from? Oh, it's another time. Oh, geez. Okay, and then this timeline constantly averting negative timelines, because if people need hopium, that's a good thing to look into if you want hope. That's in the positive, because it's not like some fake drug shit. But this timeline is well organized, and everything's constantly trying to make it better. And there's way worse timelines that exist. And my God, The amount of assholes trying to chess move those things. But
Or even the
yeah, been
physics are
compressed
different in
like a
those
quarantine.
timelines, where they attack from there and they're moving at a much faster rate and they can attack this one quite rapidly. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's what
Yeah, no
I've
problem.
experienced. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. All right. So some more things that I read. Yeah. So also read your integrating in inter. Looks like you're working with Ganesh, the Hindu god.
Mhm.
And you're integrating some founder DNA having to do with the elephantine race. And there's a lot of, elephantine aspects and origins and multidimensional beings. At least with Ganesh, I read he's a very old deity that's his species has a fairly large origin presence in Andromeda, at least that I read, and it's been hunted and to near extinction. But like a lot of the species are very good at camouflage, so who knows how much they're actually in extinction when
Mhm.
they're in hiding. But he's uniting with a whole bunch back of his species, so it seems like you're working with him on that and a lot of other
Mhm. Oh,
tech.
I've worked with him before. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's cool. And with that too, I read your so with the negative aspect to like things that because with the shadow work, I'm doing the oh you got some cool new tools. Oh, you got here's some things we can work on, and then we increase the shit out of this vibration during this session.
Mhm.
But, yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
feel free to bring
I,
up more and more things you see on me to improve. I read that you have a war going on with 10,000 plus individuals, mostly having to do with the apex predators of this planet. And they're really hard to end wars with, so it's understandable. They're locked in their ways and all that, and there's a certain type of art to bringing them to peace with a person, to where they don't see you as a threat, but because as we all rise up, we're seen as a threat. Um, but you can still overcome that with the large amount of peace technology that can exist and generate in energy from a person. You have an altar that's hasn't fully integrated with you that has to do with bilocations that you have with both Ganesh and four other elephantine species and a bit of the Hindu mythos you're also interacting with. So I'd recommend integrating the shit out of that peace altar and then make it so that you can generate tons of peace to transmute war energy and everything that comes at you into peace. So it just naturally tries to bring it to where it's a neutral and you're not seen as a threat to these beings as much. Um, and then
yeah,
there'll also be a little bit of acceptance and wholeness integration of you seeing yourself as the universe and even
Mhm.
these apex predators of the planet. There's a little bit of a thing, but in order to even change them, you have to have the key to reaching deep into their heart, which is acceptance of who they are, and where others would completely reject them as like assholes and evil that are holding down this planet. The way I've been able to change my perspective on them is they're like the not the worst apex predators that we could have possibly, because they're like you just ask the question like, okay, what's the likelihood from 1 to 100 of them being replaced by a better or nicer kinder one? And it's like 1%. 99% they'd be replaced by something worse. So there's like a stability thing with the
Mhm.
light, seeing, okay, well, have them in charge until the light gets strong enough to retake the reins from various members of them, but also the darker chess moving through them. So it's like the physical anchor of the holder of the authority versus everything else that's coming in that wants to grab it and influence them. So there's like some forgiveness that I have with that, but also, not condoning their negative actions. But I accept
Yeah.
them so that I can reach deep into that aspect of my universe and then bring it love enough to change it. And
Mhm.
then slowly the timeline will improve, though in little bits, but at most core critical junctions. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I know I understand what you said. Yeah, these altars that I've run into myself. I've run into several of them. I've refined it down to what I've been able to see. But yeah, with Ganesh, I've dealt with him in the past before. When I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska years ago, I encountered him, and he said he was going to be around a while, even if I didn't see him that often. And with you, though, I'm seeing, okay, let's see, okay, I'm seeing an altar that it looks like it's from a different universe, different timeline, but I'm seeing this AI that is covering half of its face, like on the right here. I'm seeing like this is a version of yourself that it's an altar that is also attempting to, what did he? It's attempting to undermine some forms of abundance, some forms of dull creativity. What is he doing? Okay, trying to basically put this geometry around you to where it inverts your inversions, inverts your trying to create the positive constructs out of the negative, like what you were just describing. It's basically the antithesis of what you're doing. As you're creating, it's trying to uncreate. So this one, I can actually, hang on, I can at least cut the cord to this so it's easier. There we go. Yeah, this was basically canceling out. This altar was canceling out some of the work you've been doing. I couldn't tell exactly where he was. It looked to just be another timeline. I couldn't completely see where he was standing. It was completely cloaked. I just saw the face, and I saw the AI half face there. But let me see if what a lot of positivity is coming out of this. I'm seeing a construct you've created. I believe it's again the fusion of your higher self with your avatar. There is this through the middle of your back. I'm seeing this seems to be an attack point where beings such as that altar were trying to invert your creations. But you even have a construct in there that looks almost like an adapter would be for a cord, where you've turned it and your higher self is actually sending that energy back like a fuse, going back to these different dimensions and expressions, and are actually starting to transmute these even as we're talking. The energy is high enough to where I'm actually seeing this conversion taking place even as we're both speaking. We're both, our higher selves and our avatars are doing this at work as we're talking right now. Yeah, that's why the energy is so damn high. It's because it's getting hard for me to think a little bit. But this, if it sounds, folks, like I'm babbling, this is why. It's the energy. Uh, I'm seeing this as when I got rid of that altar, or at least blocked it. There is other energy you have to integrate from that information. You have to integrate from that still, but it's going to help you a great deal here. Man, these negative forces did not want me to say that. Okay, all right. I started blurting this out, and I felt this heaviness weighing on me a little bit. Uh, the like what you were saying about me with this altar, where I have to find the aspects of this that I have to integrate. To put it in context, when I was in Nebraska, I was starting to create, create like prayer wheels and other constructs to sell at different events and stuff like that, to where it would create this really positive energy. I was even creating constructs then and device like things then, but it was just more like out of nature, like sticks, leather, all this other stuff. I had one that was made black out of black leather, and I had this on the floor. I virtually ignored it. It was a prayer wheel. I virtually ignored this thing, and for whatever reason, it pissed my mother off at the time. She goes, "Why are you letting this thing get filthy?" All this other stuff. It turned out like my higher self was making a catch-all for junk, and like a construct at the time. The higher self was making this magical catch-all or construct or transmuting point. Ganesh came to me in a dream at that time, and basically said, "You have a lot of work left to do," but basically said this is this simple concept is what is essentially a symbolic filter for how I had to transmute things and how I had to do things. So yeah, I didn't realize he was still around. He must have cloaked himself because I haven't sensed him lately. But with yourself, yeah, there's a large plethora of beings that are gathering now around you. I'm sensing Who are you? Can you please identify yourselves? Thank you. Yeah, very fast moving energy there. I'm trying to see if I can pinpoint one to identify themselves. These are elementals, it looks like. I'm trying to pinpoint, where are you, friends? Okay, you're just gonna talk to me quantumly. Okay. Yeah, give me a challenge to translate this. Thank you. All right. They are in an energy state where they're talking in quantum. And it's if I'm translating this correctly, they are helping you, giving you downloads of information. They're helping buffer certain energies, but at the same time, they have you been getting a lot of synchronicities lately in the past, like couple months, like really a heavy amount of synchronicities? Yeah. Uh, yeah. I mean, really positive ones, not like negative influence ones, but it's like this this particular group there. I'm having a tough time seeing them. I'm trying to bilocate to where they're at, and they are they're trying to buffer that Draco energy from New York. They're blocking it long enough to where I can speak to them. Uh, they look like elementals to me, though. They look like nature beings of some sort. But friends, can you elect a representative to speak, please, so we can translate this a little easier? What was that, Isaac? Oh, they don't talk that way. Okay. All right. Let's see. Yes, I know I'm being too literal. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Isaac is the guy that's around me that he goes, "Hey, stupid. Hey, dumbass." They don't talk that way. Okay. Let's see. Just know they're there for positive, not just filtering, but they're giving you nuggets of information to evolve your database down here and to implement the okay, come on, implement the as you basically go from place to place, you're spreading those codes in other places. So it's this group, they're positive. They've proven to me that they're positive. So that's I can feel this big rush of energy just come at me. And I heard Isaac just go, he goes, "Was that sufficient for you, dumbass?" So it's like to know that they're all right. I get kind of anal retentive when it comes to certain beings, extremely anal retentive when it comes to beings. And what you said before about there are certain beings that have been viewing me not as me. I know an altar has been doing things to certain beings I normally would communicate like with, like elementals and such. Uh, and just even recently, we had some elementals around here that were mad at me because they said I had done something to them when I actually hadn't. And I was like, oh, you must be seeing an altar. You must be seeing this. So I was actually making those comments to them. I tend to get my feelings hurt when somebody says that, it's like, or another human says that. That's just my own deal. That's the ego right there. But I've had other humans say these same things to me. Oh, you've done this. Oh, you've done that. No, I haven't. Uh, and so that is something I work on constantly, trying to find alters. I feel that that's exactly what you're working on too, so that it doesn't spread, so it doesn't affect the outer world here. And friends, can you give me a name of your group if that's possible? I'm seeing them stand like on like almost like a beach somewhere, and it's like really tough to discern. They're in the sun, but they're in a different pocket dimensional space that normally I can get a better lock on beings. But can you please show me a little more, please? Thank you. Thank you. All right. The form I'm getting is like wispy looking, or like will-o-wisp looking ones. Can you give me a little more, please? Like a
I was
name
just
of your group? Hmm?
talking to those last night.
Oh, yeah.
Will of the Wisp. Yeah.
Will-o-wisp. Yeah, I was just talking about them. I did an episode of Conspiracy Sector with my friend Aubrey. We were just talking about negative and positive will-o-wisps. So we were just talking about that. So that's interesting how that's popped up here. But they look like
Right.
will-o-wisps. So and they don't talk, like they're not speaking. It's in quantum essentially. And hello, friends. Can you give me a name of your group, please, if you could? Oh, yeah, yes, Isaac, I'm aware they don't have a verbal name. Thank you. All right. All right. He goes, that's like the fifth time you said to tell me that. Okay. Um, they're communicating with light and sound like pulses. So it's like this plasmoid, like flashing of light and sound. And my brain's trying to translate it into like an English language so I can translate it out again. That's where some of my codes come in handy, where I create constructs like universal translators to be able to speak to beings like this. But they're around you because they acknowledge that you've been speaking about them, and they're filtering downloads of information to you. At least this version of them, I was basically talking about some of the negative ones on conspiracy sector, but this particular group seems positive to me. Yes, I can see like a head nodding like that. Yeah, okay. Or at least they formed a head where I can actually visually do that.
No, I haven't really. I looked into Fae a lot. I used to ran into some negative Fae, and I still do, but they keep themselves at a distance. They're like scavengers. They come and steal something, and they go off. I guess because they see it as a little spicy to stay, but most of the time, even if they have been perceived as negative, or I go under the term and like the books say they're negative, I ran into a lot of positive or neutral versions of these face species, whether they changed or they just changed for me. It's like, because I can offer them fertility increase, and I can search out for the rest of their species. A lot of them have been lessened in their numbers, or have been killed off or captured or all this, and I have the goal towards bringing them back to fullness in their species again. But yeah, I guess if the books don't really, the caution doesn't always apply when you have something they want, similar to us. It's like you don't want to bite the hand that feeds. So if you gain in value to where even Fae can appreciate it, that you can influence Fae not to go into the legendary nature anyway.
Yeah. And also them putting that in print too. If they weren't necessarily negative before and somebody was in fear, they could create weird inverted versions of them. So and having that in print like a spell. And yeah, I encounter fairies and fae all the time. Recently here in this house, we encountered brownies and
Me too.
boggarts. Yeah. And
Ooh, yeah, that they've been showing up to my clients as well. And we went to Orlando for the Galactic Conference, and we went to that Harry Potter thing in Orlando. What is it? Universal Studios. There's like a bunch of there's a bunch of things that are monitoring people there. It's like they put up monitoring systems to find out who are magical. There's even Fae there waiting around to see if there's other of their species show up, or anyone that has their DNA or some solution for them. So I wonder how many other places that are like that. 'Cause I also saw that in Salem. So there's like wherever there's a big magical gathering, there's some crazy stuff waiting there for people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we went to Salem. I saw it on Facebook. You went to Salem. We went there years ago. God, there's a lot of alien species that come through there on Halloween. Joanna knows one that looked kind of like Harry Potter, where she could tell he was an alien, but he was disguised as in a Harry Potter costume and everything. And also, we were in Florida roughly around the same time you were, but I had the same thing where I was leaving shungite and orgone pieces and stuff like that outside on the boardwalk there from Disney World, where it's like you have the boardwalk area out there. I left a couple tower busters out there that had shungite energy and stuff on them, and I heard somebody out there, elementals out there, thanking me for doing it. So it was obviously the same group. But yeah, in Salem when we went there, this was actually quite interesting. It was on Halloween night. We were there from the 29th to the 31st back in 2016, and we went through there, and I saw all four of there's actual ETs that were walking through there that I was talking to some of them telepathically, and some were turning around looking at me and everything, to see who was actually pinging their energy a little bit. But I thought that was very, very interesting that you also went to Salem for Halloween because that is a huge like neutral gathering of like a large amount of like elemental forms and ET forms that come through there, and it positive and negative. I found Draco up there too, so it was
Right.
when we went up there. But the positive side, though, it's like this neutral gathering of course, I always tell, when I'm in contact with ETs, it's like, why don't you come down, as you are on Halloween and nobody will know you're an alien. They're like, well, how do you know we don't? So that's that's the response I got back. And then we saw in Salem where ETs were actually walking around. Some are walking around exactly as themselves. You would never know with all the costumes around. You would think they were cosplaying Star Trek or something like that. But I can usually tell an actual ET in the crowd versus somebody that's incarnated as one. Like there's an actual physical one in the crowd. I can usually pinpoint the difference. Some of them don't like being ousted. Like we've had some even in this area where like, I know you're an alien. They're like, crap, and then they run from us. But I'll run across one every now and again. I haven't in the past few months, but Vegas was another place we went where they're all over the place. But yeah, it's I find that very synchronistic that you were just in the spots that we had been. We were like maybe a week later after that conference we went to, I believe. But yeah, we wanted to see what it looked like, what the situation was down there. We were looking for places to live on the East Coast, and we figured, okay, we'll look at Florida where some of her family is too. And we just figured, okay, we're an hour away from the boardwalk. We'll go check it out. And we didn't go into Disney World, but I did pick up on the same fairies and elementals while we were out there, and they were happy that I was leaving these Shungite offerings in places. They were very thankful for that, from what I saw. But yeah, this is a very synchronistic conversation because it's spanned over sessions that I've had. Also the conspiracy sector episode I did with the Will-O-Wisp, it all synchronized together in this because we filmed a Thanksgiving episode about different cryptids. We were talking about brownies, the encounter I had with brownies here, and the boggarts that were here. Man, those little turds when they were coming in, they came in and they were causing some havoc here. But then I did some more research on them, and I was mad as hell at them when I found them because I knew they were causing problems in the house, and I was pissed. But I managed to get rid of them. But I tried to after a while. I tried to be kind. They were also saying that they were. Goes back to the altar situation where they felt that either they had been wronged or I was being too lazy cleaning up the energies in some fashion. That's what they had a laundry list of accusations, and I was like, I'm done with it, at that point. And then Joanna goes, why don't you just get rid of them? Tell them they got to get out of here. And I wanted to salvage at least some relationship with some of those elementals, but like I was talking to Isaac at the time, he goes, "Now some of them you just need to get them to go. We'll and help bring in more positive ones, or help them with a situation or something like that." And I did. I cleaned up what the energies they wanted help cleaning up with, but I got mad because they were playing pranks. They were stealing things, dropping attachments on people, stuff like that, and making noises in the kitchen in the middle of the night, stuff like that. I was like, okay, what are you guys doing? You're driving us nuts. So I did get mad at him, but then the next day I came out and went, okay, I'm going to try to resolve this peacefully. And we managed to get it fixed, but they were hiding in a big crystal that I had. They were trying to either hiding behind it or in it, and they were using it as kind of like they were trying to throw either attachments on people, or it's just like if you had somebody walking through a door and you put the bucket of water on the top and they dump the water on them. That's kind of the equivalent of what they were doing, and energetically, and they kept make it so I would get slimed all the time, and I was like, no, we're not doing this. And apparently they had been around a while, and I just got fed up, and I said, okay, what is it you're complaining about? And it's me going back to burning all these old notebooks and everything. They thought, from their perspective, they thought I was polluting the ether by doing that, by not hurrying up with the process. And I felt this overwhelming sense of trying to hurry through it, trying to speed through it. And that was their influence because they didn't want that stink around. they were like, okay, he's obviously being lazy, not doing this fast enough. We're going to slime him a couple of times. And that's basically what it boiled down to. And so anybody viewing, there's positive, negative versions of these groups, and there's just mischievous little turds that come in and do stuff like that. It was a pain in the butt, but other clients have been reporting the same thing to me too, where they've had these weird little instances of either boggarts, brownies, puckwudgies. That's one of the worst ones I've run across with that group, because they'll break stuff, steal stuff. They'll even leave dead animals on your property. I've run into that myself here. They portaled a poor squirrel into our wall one time, and yeah, I couldn't get it out of there, and it died in there and left a bunch of energy stink. And we after a session came in, and there was like a squirrel trapped in the wall, and I knew they had done it, and I couldn't get it out of there. We tried looking everywhere to try to get it out, but we couldn't do it, and it died. And that's what they were trying to do. They were just basically, that's more of an evil practical joke right there. But those are the three groups I've seen prevalent lately: are puckwudgies, boggarts, and brownies, and they've been pretty ugly. I don't know how much you've run into more of them. Leprechauns is another one too. I've run into positive and mischievous, but I don't know how much of them you've run into lately, other than what you've said. But yeah,
A bunch. I used to have them like run amok in my house and previous houses, but not so much on this property. I have a vicious defense system that doesn't really take prisoner. Well, it technically does. And then so I just force everything out of my house into a various. As long as I gave them their own spiritual house, made like a portal in one of the fairy knots in a tree, as well as I got a pagoda for spirits if they want a hotel situation. They can contact me through my secretary for that, but I don't need them in my general area if they're like new. They got to really earn it. I treat my close spiritual entourage as like, you gotta really earn my trust and my it's like a evolutionary hold no bars type of thing. So I tell my clients as well, you got to treat it like they got to earn it. That it's a gift to be in your spiritual entourage. It's beings will evolve very quickly. So if they're disrespecting you in any way, even trickery, they send them to the back of the line, and then have them go through a bunch of obstacle courses to prove themselves, and let them know your boundaries so they can cross it. They'll respect it if you do. And then, just set up a really nice waiting space for them in the meantime, and they can evolve to such a point. But yeah, I used to have a lot of leprechaun activity, and still get that, but they're doing like a gridding mission in their connection between their original place of power in US's now. And then I got brownies, and we had one that came back from Orlando with us as well, and a few other fae from that place. I'm like negotiating with them, because the legends are very confusing in like how to treat them. But so I don't read it's exactly the same as the legends, but they do like cereal. They do like sugary stuff, so I'm doing that. I just keep all the negative beings, and then the full authority of what is allowed to be created in the space energetically, constantly audited, because there's a lot of assholes trying to steal it and then create things. So like continuing into our back and forth. So I read you're integrating some DNA magic having to do with a dragon species that's good at programming the body, especially with the heart in the focused intention, held for a while in intensity of brightness emanating through the body, that you've improved upon. For negatives, well, I'm going to switch to a topic on that with what's going on in Arizona with the Draka, because they're trying to reach into this conversation, not very successfully, fortunately.
Yeah, I've
Uh,
been feeling them too. Yeah.
yeah, not Draco for like you can feel free to make a comment on my targeting. Going into yours with the Draco under Phoenix that has a pretty big city underground. The main thing that's targeting you is the Queen or whatever you'd call as the matriarch in there that has a large amount of psionics, more so than the men. And then that's 90%. And then it has a pairing, a male, you could call that Pindar or whatever, but there's a lot of them in different territories I read. So it's not the peak one at all. That would be going back to Draco star system. That would be another 10%. A great way to resolve them is through loving detachment from the pulse from the heart, letting go of them, and kind of seeing into the representation of the version of them in your own body, in parts and altars in the solar plexus. That's the map of the representation of the universe version of them, and have acceptance for that and love it and reach deeper and deeper into it, because you got to get to a deeper core of that representation of that to have a bigger and bigger effect on it. So it's like nothing anytime they interact with you. So you got to accept them and love that big ball of negativity that's like coming off of them, which is a little bit of a challenge, but like as you hug yourself and it's a lot easier.
Hmm.
They're also emanating, so having ego, shadow, and evil death ability amplified in quarantining and cutting them off from their sources of power from other people, uniting with the whole collective that they're stealing from, like probably millions of people, and having them all loving detached, shrink that down, that big parasite down of the big ball of their ego that's the size of 58% of the galaxy, the big ball of shadow that's 41% of the galaxy, big ball of evil that's um 40 something different solar systems. Yeah, and then shrinking all that down and a feeling of love and acceptance and transmuting it all, and then compressing it down to their body so it doesn't extend outward. And it will alert you when it starts to, which usually goes along with them stealing authority or sacrificing something.
Hmm.
They're what it's how it's attaching to you is mostly through your your ego, your shadow, and your altars. 90% through through your ego, because they're mostly ego magicians. They have limited technology and magic. Um, then so that's 90% is attaching to your ego. So like loving your ego resolves them quickly. Same thing with shadow. The altar goes back to an age 5 altar, something to do with MK Ultra and
Hmm.
possibly some New York stuff. Um, and through that, I read that's most of how the Draco are stealing a bunch of your abilities and generators, like similar to telekinesis and some of the superpower stuff that you retained, but also that a lot of that also being stolen from past lives, because like them, demons, a bunch of the things that invaded from Atlantis Fall stole humanity's superpowers and then dropped our capability quite a bit.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I'd also like to ask you about like, whoa, what do you think could be done through the remedy? Because a lot of like the big high-end superpowers that are stolen from humanity are being siphoned back to the Dracos solar system. What do you think the
Hmm.
old there's a big puzzle with like how does humanity solve that? Because a lot of them are like psychopaths and not easy to penetrate with love, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, they like to take that from millions and siphon it back to back to their solar system. I've run into that quite a bit. It is a bit of a conundrum because if you oh, you froze there for a minute. Uh, did I lose you?
Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah. It
Yep.
froze there for a minute. Sorry about that. But what? Obviously, they didn't want this conversation, but it's a conundrum. You know, like if you fight them, say too much, you're feeding them, but if you don't do it too little, you're not defending yourself. So it's like uh, I always tell people, don't, like when the Grays have been in this room, our bedroom before, I chased them out of the room with a knife in the middle of the night. I was mad at them, but I know if I did it too much, I'd be feeding what they were wanting to do. Like when they put me in a paralysis field, I jumped out of it, and then with an adrenaline burst, and I was done. But when they did that with this though, you got to kind of do the same thing. Defend yourself, but at the same time, don't fall into this like hateful, like overlord type of situation. I've been there. I've had to take a step back from that and walk that fine line. It's basically the Chinese finger trap. You struggle too much, and it's like you're basically feeding the pull back towards yourself like that. So that's kind of like this weird trap. You just have to walk the razor's edge when you're dealing with some of these. Defend against, push back, and also you were saying transmute and also quarantine. You have to do all these things simultaneously, and that's what I personally have had to do. I saw that same not same Draco clan, but the one that was around you is doing something very similar. And I'm seeing, this one is not a, this is not a female one. This is a male one from what it looks like. And he is kind of a king. He's a kingly figure for that area. And Isaac, what did you just say? Oh, that he's agreeing with you that's their capital essentially. He's agreeing with you on that. He says yes, that is an understatement, and he's showing me that they exist in this. They're underground, but they created this construct where they created this large, like elaborate kingdom in the state of New York there, and what they're doing to you is that exactly the same thing that you said the others here were doing to me. They're displacing abilities. I'm trying to see the different percentages here. It's very similar to what you said they're doing to me. I'm seeing this like almost like this pie chart of basically galactic and multiversal information. They're pulling it from a lot of this looshing energy from millions of people, but with you specifically, they. I understand. Okay, I'm trying to describe this in English here, where they're targeting you and you're reciprocating that back, and you're helping quarantine them. But on the other side, there are also not only allies of you, but allies of them that are clashing as well. In that era with them, there's that clash of energies. In you would see an uptick in abundance, but you'd also see a downgrade in creativity at times. It would kind of fluctuate like this. And the percentages of it that this particular group has control of, I'm trying to see the percentages here. I'm seeing it varies between like 60 and 70% sometimes in that area. Sometimes it went up to 80 or 90. But it varies. And the good forces, like with that Will-O-Wisp group, are actually assisting with pushing this back. They're actually, that group is, they said, I said, are you at war with this Draco group? They said that's too cut and dry. It's more like they're helping transmute the energies from this. I'm trying to translate what is going on here, but it's coming into my my download center here at an astronomical rate. Let's see, this male Draco, I'm seeing he's sitting on a throne. He has this almost like bluish silvery looking color to him, and he has more. It's not like this longer snout like some of them. He has like kind of a pushed in face, and he has horns that come in and curl in a little bit like this. And he feels he's like the king of that domain, and he is heavily focused on you at times. He in particular is. And for what reason, Isaac? Where you say? Interesting. Okay. In a universal sense, what I'm getting is by you encountering this, it's like basically he. I don't want to say he's assisting in forming this. I don't think he's that smart. It's this universally, it's assisting you in forming an antigen and an antidote for the area. I don't feel this guy's that intelligent. It's just that universally, yeah. He was flipping me off there for a minute. He could hear everything I was saying. But when I said he wasn't that intelligent, that's usually how I poke him a little bit when I say stuff like that. But it's causing you to form this antigen for the area that you're in. There's a reason you're not in New York, in the center of this. You're outside of this. They're trying to reach out. You're inverting this and then basically making it, even by you walking and you in an area, or you spreading those codes. And I call it by changing the area by millimeters and centimeters. You're creating permanent changes where you're going. Like say even in a small amount, like say if you're building a house and your measurements are off by like a millimeter in several places, it's going to screw up the entire measurement. That's what you're doing to this guy. That's exactly what you're doing to this guy. And it pisses him off. But it doesn't matter because you're defending against them fairly well. And I tried to cut his head off several times, but he's got this enormous amount of defenses in place there. So I tried to collapse their little kingdom in on itself. I tried putting this construct into where it inverted in quarantine. I was doing that as we were talking, as you were talking about that, because I didn't want him influencing this conversation or influencing other people. But it looks like they've locked into so many other people that those people would have to take responsibility for at least helping out with that on an energetic level. One person's not going to conquer this beast here, but this. What else did the spirit want me to know here? Let's see.
Yeah, they have a lot of energy harvesting. You know, the people are very mind controlled in New York, so it's yeah, when they can just steal energy from a bunch of people, just you know, offset something, and then they put all the suffering onto these people. Then yeah,
it's like I call it karma dumping, where they'll take one from another and swap it, and they use this magic continuously, where they're constantly doing this swapping. Like if they also want to enlist like an agent somewhere, they'll make that life of that person slightly easier just to impair someone else, and they do this swapping of these energies around. And yeah, they tried that on you numerous times. It looks like in the past, I want to say since we spoke last, that's the past couple months. Okay, Isaac, is he blocking this sufficiently? Because I'm sensing a hole somewhere. I'm sensing a chink somewhere in the armor. I understand. Okay. He's saying that they. Can you give me a better map of that, please? Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing a chink in your armor that has to do with part of your crown and the back of your head right here. There's like this spot right here. It looks to me it's a past life wound that they're exploiting. They've been trying like at an astronomical rate to find different weaknesses with you specifically. I don't know why they are. I don't mean to be insulting. Why they want to focus in on one person that much because they're that insulted, but they're just butthurt at the moment. But I'm seeing oh, okay, I see. There was a past life where they did something to you, where they incurred. You got like there was like this sharp object or like a spear or a sword that went in right here, and there's a wound right there. That they are using this as a infiltration or an insert point to try to influence your thoughts there. And I'm gonna go back and reverse that. I go back into the past life and I rewrite the narrative here. So I'm going to move that side. Discard this old timeline. Oh, that made them mad. I got rid of this wound that was on the back of your head. They were using it wasn't very big. It was like maybe 2 inches like this. And it was like this thick scar that was going down the back of your head here. And it was from another lifetime where they influenced somebody to kill you in that lifetime. This looked to be back. I'm trying to recognize the soldiers and the people there. It looks to be. I'm seeing a spear that was like this. Has like a guard on it. Has the spear going. This looks to be either Spaniard or French. I'm trying to discern what this is. But in any case, the details probably aren't as important as the fact that they were using that as an infiltration point in your own energy. and they were honing in on this thing. I'm trying to see how that would manifest in on our timeline, what it would look like, what it would have looked like. Oh, the same as everything else. It would have downclined abundance and creativity, and it also would have caused even rashes, wounds, itching. It would have caused that as physical manifestations. It would have caused a birthmark there as a physical manifestation, and it would have caused your just an easier time for them to be able to shift your thoughts or the narrative that they were trying to throw at you. But it was that, I don't know if it was that king specifically that did this, but it was one like him in ancient times that had this done. He was in the guise of a human king, it looks like, but or that human king was influenced by a draconian influencer at that time. But there was one like him was responsible, and they were locking on to that timeline. Is what they were doing. They were locking on to that nugget of time. What I did is I just went in and rewrote it to where it was a more positive outcome, to where you didn't suffer the wound, and that vanishes. It kind of flakes and goes off. And so that's the positive end of this. You invert that from where they wanted it, and I feel something in the future for you has changed. There's going to be more things that open up as a result of that, even in little amounts. So
Thank you.
yeah, that was a
The
lot there
next
that
thing,
came at once.
next thing I'm reading into, thank you, I appreciate it. Next thing I'm reading for you is that your some healing abilities are coming online with Lyran genetic unlocking, having to do with healing force that's in the root chakra. A bunch of that's being pressurized down from flowing upward up the spine and throughout the whole system, mostly by the shadow and then some blocks. But feel free to do any activity that brings it up, and loving those areas, and then free the block, and then so it flows through, and then it'll amplify the shit out of your healing ability. Have you seen the show The Dark Crystal?
Yeah, quite a while ago, but yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
You see the new one?
No, I was trying to watch that with Joanna, and she's not too fond of puppets, so I didn't get all the way through it. She hates puppets, mimes, all that other stuff. So it's like clowns, all that stuff. So we didn't get all the way through it, but I did see the original book.
Well, okay, there's like a concept in that's a bunch of disclosure. It's like polarity equivalents of different species, and the unity in the soul, and like the light and the dark versions of people, and their balancing equivalents in the universe. And so the show went into like, oh, they're some of the really dark, lizard bird like people are like they're linked to a nice kind oracle kind of creature. So they're like opposites in duality, and if one dies, the equivalent dies. But I wouldn't go that far. I'd say there's a remedy for like the Draco in their light equivalents, and the balancing of those forces, and then bring them to eventual peace and unity again. There's like also like a Beauty and the Beast concept with our species and the Draco species that could, if we got past our wars, and which a lot of the positive factions of the Draco have, been brought to peace with us. So it would be like a similar thing where they're super resilient, and then we're like hugely psionically emergent. So there would be like the masculine and the feminine type of Beauty and the Beast concept with that, in best case scenarios. But there's a lot of things that are locked in their own mind, but there's remedy for it. So I read a lot to the collective. If we wanted to resolve that, it'd go into either a big collective healing, or like for the one in New York as an example, about like 1,000 people would have to unite in knowingness, which I'm like, oh, if we get the audience to that level, hey, maybe we can do something. for these Draco to bring them to that come to Jesus moment, or their love turned on and their empathy, and they stop a lot of the negative stuff, and they see the benefit of our species, and they don't want to just eat us. There's also a timeline where if humanity becomes incredibly resilient to death energy and death authority, and then we retake a bunch of our stolen technology, then we can, through also acceptance and love and healing the shit out of their hearts all at once, and while also detaching from them, from their shadow, and shrinking it down, detaching them from the threats that have been incurring on them, overtaking things, and then making corruption continue, as well as our ability to counter their theft ability, and then go back in time and heal those old wounds where they stole our stuff, and prevent that, and bring a big remedy to everything that stole from them, and then going back in the chain of theft. Maybe 10,000 or 1,000,000 people having to get together and bring a big healing, loving blanket to the Draco of acceptance, and like to where they have like a heartfelt cry of not thinking anyone would ever accept them, and feeling love so deeply, more than they've ever felt before. It would be a big event that would change a large amount in the timeline, and bring us back to power. Either that, or someone has to get on the level of reflecting their death energy back at the peak evils there that are dominating things. One of the strategies I'm reading would work, but it's like, which one will be done first? So
Yeah,
is what I'm
I'm
reading.
definitely seeing. Yeah, well, yeah, either one of those would work. I think it's the latter one that would probably come first after a while. But this I'm seeing, definitely mirroring that back at them. I use a technique called the dark mirror, where it reflects their evil deeds back at them. I've done that with remote viewers and the like too. So if you had like 1,000,000 people doing that exact technique, that would put an end to a lot of this at the moment. It would stabilize the energy fairly quickly. That's been proven. That's why in 2020 they were trying to get people to be so afraid. They were projecting it's inverted out there so badly. So you do the opposite of this, where you if people were just even aware of their existence, even just being aware of their existence would start to change things on a fundamental level. Because even seeing something and being aware of something, it's just like what science always says, when you're viewing a subject, you're starting to alter the subject. It's that basically that same fundamental level. And that group's backed off after a while. I've put up so many constructs while we've been talking, as they've been trying to poke at me here a little bit. That Draco group was doing this to me the whole time, was pushing in my head, trying to get me off kilter there. But yeah, I do feel if people focused enough on that, and also doing their own inner work, shadow work, which is the above all else the first choice there, it begins to change things fundamental, as I've said, in millimeters and centimeters. Then eventually you spread that information, and that you light those little fires of information and energy and codes in different places, and it's eventually going to overturn this. Another third technique I was just shown is I just heard Isaac say this was slightly the more drastic of the three choices here, where he says you can always find a way to shift them to a completely different timeline altogether, swap them out with their benevolent counterparts, and just flush the toilet. He just said, I just heard him say flush the toilet, meaning he's poking at them too by saying this, where essentially you're casting those negative ones off to a completely different timeline in the multiverse and swapping. He said that he goes, that's a more elaborate kind of time fracture, if we're a way of explaining this. But he's putting this map in my head of how you can take them, how they swap, do karma dumping on people. He said you can swap the positive and negative ones in the multiverse the same way. You could do that. That's the more drastic of the three measures, he says. But again, it would take multiple people still focusing on that same thing. He just put a third option on the table right there, but yeah.
I read that too. That's a potential. It's like the tree of perspectives and the of timeline, and then the main timeline, and then like what are all the votes attached to the different timeline perspective of what we perceive in this one. And since they're in a especially with the Draco constellation, is a different bubble of reality that's separated in time and space, so a lot of it can be Schrodinger's box swapped out, but like there's a limited number that are of the votes for their species that are pulling in the positive direction. So there's only a few of those timelines even breaching into the positive, even more so. Well, of course, with little individuals in their species, of course, they can be good, but like the overall government of their system is what I'm reading, and so it'd take a lot of negotiations with their higher selves and the different voices in their beings that have authority, and bring them over to the light, or somehow giving them less authority over the timeline, and then their vote pulling back and not having much of a pull anymore on it, which would, because they stole a whole bunch of our authority, so it's, you know, it's linked together.
It's quantumly linked. If you flip the coin back, or flip the mirror back, it's going to give back humanity that power pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know, if the people would come together and basically take that power back, it's going to invert it and send that dark crap back at them. Yeah,
Right.
That's what I'm seeing. In my head while you were talking, I'm seeing the whole map of this. You know, my higher self likes to create these enormous like constructs of like magical formula and all these different energy paths, and I'm seeing that form. If it looks like I have weird expressions on my face and stuff like that, as I'm actually viewing the records as you're talking. I'm seeing this whole chain of events play out, and the probabilities of how it would look, and I'm seeing the multiple versions and the timelines of how it would look and all this other stuff. So that's essentially what my higher self was pumping into my head there a second ago as you were talking. As you're projecting that out there, I'm seeing all the how it would look to the human mind as it was forming, you know, and how people would see it if they got to that point, how they would view it. But yeah, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this conversation here. Isaac, I don't know if you wanted to talk or do anything at the end of this, because you've been rather chatty today. Hmm? What? Oh, okay. Yeah, I usually do the channeling sometimes, and he wanted to say something. So okay. What? Okay. He says he wants you to read him. Okay. So he's gonna be talking to you at this point. Hold on. See. I have him go. There's like anybody that channels, they go through. I have a crystal sitting right here. It makes it so that I can do it for longer periods of time. I used devices and stuff to kind of filter, and just like what you were saying about the brownies, how they had to go through an obstacle course. That's kind of how I do this with channeling as well. So I have traps of all. I have a fairy statue out there that traps negative nymphs and negative energies and stuff like that, and transmutes them. So yeah, yes, Isaac, I'll shut up. Okay, let's see. All right. He's rather brash, at times. So what he looks like me, but with red hair.
Is he another version of you?
I thought so in the multiverse somewhere, but he says he's a member of Soul Family, or he's family. So he looks a little like my mother and my great grandfather. So obviously he's in the lineage somewhere. Uh, okay. Yes, I'll shut up so you can talk. Yes.
Okay. So it seems he has a bunch of superpower technology in both healing and destruction. He has a psychic amplifier system that he's working, with you in clairaudience, clairvoyance, so that there's a bunch of technology transferred through that. He's also very good at bilocating, so that like makes sense with your bilocations and initiating that system. Um, he goes with you far back uh, mm, at least as old as the first universe in this multiverse that I'm allowed to say What? Publicly. Mm, Oracle System Network. Oracle System Network for Earth amplification radio type of system with your audience. Um, he's got a large bank of creative force energy that he's been helping you build. A lot of your astral realms, constructs, energy devices. And there's a cool thing he's got going on where he can interact with your DNA technology to help you evolve quicker. Not many species know how to do that. It's like a free will contract thing that you got set up with him and that.
Mhm.
Um, Ooh, a lot of the technology into your ability to read the Akashic record is going into stuff that he's been working with you in. It's like transferring stuff you earned from other lives and integrating into you faster so that you get past a lot of the obstacle course of forming that ability that I've come across, unfortunately. Mm.
Yes, this is indeed Isaac, and you are correct in this, Sean. You see, there's one thing you left out. We're also part of some of these chains of events as well in your soul history. There's a reason that this meeting was set up in this particular seemingly random, chaotic fashion, in this free for all, as you would say, or more of like a council or a meeting of energies. This was indeed set up like this as spirit and as yourselves in other forms, variations, and also I was there at that beginning as well. You would say humans would see me as being from a future timeline when it's all and technically integrated, and I went into this genetic past of his and integrated along with my brothers into that particular fabric of that particular family lineage. This is also what you were picking up on. You were there for some of these events where I intersected, some of which were in the ancient period between the elves and the Orion factions. Others, you would call it Fomorian and Tuathan conflicts. In universal sense, what you said from the original timeline, this was where we also all met that particular apex in our soul history. You see, yes, I'm a physical being, but have the ability to access all of these particular timelines, very much like in your movie Infinite, where they could access all the past life memories and expressional memories and constructs. I do assist him in these particular ways. I myself wanted to come through at this juncture to greet you, but I too have been around you at times, but you have not always recognized my presence.
Wonderful. Yeah, nice to talk to you. Yeah, see a lot. There's a lot of interesting, powerful energy coming off the voice when you're going into that translation for the being. I also read for them in they connect to a eye. It's like a third eye for the universe concept. Is one of those giant. If you've seen one of those giant galaxies that look like an eye, um, and so there seems to be a big presence of their being anchored into that collective. Uh, which then gives them the technology of that and authority to see throughout the universe. So powerful. The healing tool repertoire in technology that they've accumulated as well through the expansion of their knowingness and perception and their integration and to do what they can in helping on the earth is pretty strong as well. I am seeing them as well, not just be with you, but anchored into multiple trees that exist on the planet as an antenna, and some like that are really big and some underground that are really big. So this like technology with linking to the planet, this management and antenna for cosmic energy that is usually just passing through most life forms in permeance, picked up and then examined in the fractal information compression of those energy packets, and then accessed like a computer and data, and then used in how it would benefit your collective and the planet quite efficiently. That's pretty cool.
Yes, this is all true, Sean, where I am disseminating this information in this particular way. You see, I have a link to the elemental world and the galactic world. You see, yes, I am related by blood to him in my physical body. Also, what you say about the trees. Yes, I am having him assist in this by creating also some of his orgone constructs. It is for protection, yes, but it also radiates certain earthly energies that create large antennae and large capabilities that home with the trees and home particular codes with the trees. As you were saying earlier, when you created a portal within a fairy tree for their access and running those brownies through the obstacle course. Yes, that is genius. It is too bad he did not figure this out when this particular thing started, when he started whining a little bit like a little girl. But I do this to him quite often. I poke at him quite often with humor, and this is hence my name, Isaac, he who laughs. So also with this, I constantly use different terms like people would consider negative, like dumbass, dipshit, things of that nature, to flip and invert that into a laughter type frequency. So this is one of the reasons also I came in on top of what you've said.
Yeah, the bro code. Like just recently read a meme that says men throw fake insults at each other and women throw fake compliments at each other and to connect. But you know, whatever. And it's like ways to improve ourselves and taking the piss out of each other, as the Irish would say. Right. Another thing I'm reading is that they're increasing your lifespan. They've learned the ability to take energy emitted by the center of the galaxy through the stream impulses from star to star and convert that into life energy, which is rare as well. And it's a very powerful ability in life extension.
Yes, exactly. With that pulling the power from the center of creation, as it were, you're not only accessing that within by doing the shadow work, you're pulling this in from within yourselves, but also tapping into extremely ancient information that sometimes the artificial intelligence likes to try to block, invert, and give people false channelings. But in your cases, you are getting the genuine article. I have also been doing the same in my avatar form. I've also encountered both of you at various times. I manifested essentially for him in the physical. Of course, I have a physical body, but he's seen me in public, just like any other galactic that he has come across, both male and female. Also, yourself, when you were also in Salem, for instance. Or what I'm trying to say, there are some convoluted energies intersecting my position at this time. But his receiver is getting scrambled slightly. But while you were in Salem, I and a couple of my family have been in and out of there quite often. We have also come and gone from, of course, here in Arizona is where I have my physical presence amongst military to attempt to invert some of their covert ops and some of their projects that are less than stellar, let's just say, for the whole of humanity. As you would say, in changing it, basically getting them in touch with their light selves. That's essentially what I'm doing around those particular projects. But places you have been, even in your state of Connecticut, I've come in there off and on. And I have been in communication with yourself, but it wasn't completely recognized as such, but it was through synchronicities. I have very rarely shown myself as in my physical self very often, but I'm not precluding the fact that I would do so again if I had the opportunity to do so.
Nice. Okay, I look forward to that. I'm also reading that they're amplifying that your ability in your electromagnetic field and your technopathy, your ability that as your electromagnetic field pulses and expands, any of the same technology in the electromagnetic spectrum it interacts with in the fields, the photons and the electronics emissions. There's like creational points that I read into that. They're similar to Tron. It's like a electromagnetic realm or the cyber realm, whatever people want to go into, of creation in that, in the wiring, in the connected city of that. You've been automatically in your expansion and healing yourself, and your higher self, and him helping you with upgrades to take territories around you in the electromagnetic realms through uniting with lightning elementals, dragons, pixies, as well as it's like a bug zapper type of thing, and remedy as well as capture the energy parasites throughout the cyber realm nearby as you clear things so that things stop technically glitching around you and you have maintained stability over it, which is also another ability I read that you've been getting good at, instability for the US, and keeping things fairly okay together, especially where you are. And my God, with the whole Arizona election thing going into weeks, my God, there's a lot of things that I've constantly read, trying to hack into it to influence people, to send the shadow ego, all that, to influence the votes, because it does change the timeline dramatically. Whether Lake or Hobbs wins.
If they would only understand that in this instance it is a playette, and they should not invest their energies in this, as what he is like to say. He likes to call it the theater of puppets in this particular instance, and I fully agree with your assessments in this, Sean, with that intersection or intercepting of these particular energies. Excuse, his receiver is getting bombarded by different external forces, but yes, creating these different barriers and these different electromagnetic devices that he has created, and I've also assisted in this as well, creating these different barriers and also changing fundamentally the different energies for an area. This, unbeknownst to himself, this is why he and dear Joanna ended up in Arizona to begin with, resolving some things from the past. He may have seen this as a trick that led them out here, which some of it was, I will not lie. But in in this, there has been so much improved that he has not seen, that she has not seen in this area, and now off to an area where there will be far less bombardment and other corrections that need to be corrected in the areas that they're wishing to move to. Yes, again, there was some trickery involved, but with that fork and light socket, let's just say, that took place, the energies from that learning took place and expanded outward, even eliminating different forms of overage, as he likes to call it. This is what has taken place for him, and also for yourself in different places you've been, even recently. So this, it may seem like the transformation always continues, or a struggle always seems to continue. But in this, changing these things fundamentally is paramount, especially now.
Like that. Yeah, I also read there's like an amplification of taken there's like, okay, so the government in their word of the whole system is govern, it's control, and then meant the mind. There's like a link to the collective of that dark hierarchy trying to control the collective unconsciousness's brain and influence it in mind control. So there's like a tug of war between the light force and the dark to take the collective control over the mind towards the light, towards freedom, and group voting in the collective consciousness towards influence in positive creations, emotions, and thought forms. So I read you're doing that locally, and retaking some with him control systems in the hologram of your local environment. My green screen's glitching out while we're talking, but yeah, there. So good work with that. I recommend that with other people as well, though it's a harsh and hard game because it's the tug of war with all the dark systems of the government, so they don't want that exactly anyway. But
yes, and also with the technologies that you've said that he is adapting. Yes, normally these technologies would burn out at the slightest movement of some of these energies, but he has gained an ability to stabilize technology around him so that computers do not incinerate at a single usage of the energies. You have done the same as well, but your glitching of the whole green screen is yes, it is these energies that are passing back and forth between myself and yourself at this moment in time, causing some of this. So apologies for the disruption in the technological connection and your computer at this time.
Yeah, holograms breaking down. Yeah. Any other things you wanted to go into for today's show concept?
Yes, I personally, Isaac, have personally enjoyed this conversation. I will pass this conduit back over to himself. We exist at this point utilizing one voice. He prefers it this way versus a complete takeover of a particular being at this time. He prefers this fusion for this brief period. So this concept has been enjoyed by me, and I've been monitoring this. So I will end this conduit for myself. It has been a pleasure speaking to you, Sean, and I will do this also in the future as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Always gets my eye to run when he's doing that. Okay, let's see. Yeah, he was insistent on coming in to speak to you directly like that. So what they do is, I have this crystal I call channel crystal in front of me with various stones and such. It used to be where I just had them completely come in through my brain, and that tired me out too quickly. So I chose a crystal for them to go through and then come up to me, and it makes it so I can do this for much longer periods of time. And it's basically a buffer or filter. I have to take this crystal then after this and salt it very heavily, put it in salt water, and put it out under the sky for a few days after that. After I use it quite heavily like that. But this has been a very interesting conversation, though. I'll have to rewatch it again to be able to get more out of it when I edit it. But this has been very interesting. I don't know if you want to add anything else to this before we cap the show off at this point, Sean.
Um, well, I can just go over my notes. Yeah, I also like working with disentangling things from the person's soul. That's one of the most targeted things in people, and it's like a reflection for the physical body. So if there's programs reaching to there, then it'll affect the rest of the body. So I agree that's a great place to focus on for your healings. I also like dehaunting objects. My God, people just don't realize how much entangled different objects get, especially like hand-me-downs. It deals with the whole thing, how long they've been there, how much targeted the person is, and how much needs to be pushed out and detached. And if there's like a system of contract exchange so that the original owner doesn't have any continued hauntingness to it, depending on what they're going through. And also, especially if there's entities and demons and other things that lock into it. Some objects I've had to like given up on and actually throw them into the ocean. So, I mean, I believe nothing's too far gone, especially with people and healing and all that. But sometimes it's just not worth it, how much energy and time it takes to dehaunt them. But I have been improving my ability to like depossess objects. That's been the most success I've had. And then being able to do some surgery on the timeline so that there's like a disconnect from the old thing, like things going back in time and affecting it's coming into existence so that doesn't exist anymore. I love looking up cryptid DNA concepts in people and tracking back what they have relations to. And when I was first like figuring, oh, does this species exist? And then I like find a DNA lineage or way to track them back, and then I contact them, and then surprisingly they do. Some of them do contact me back if they have enough telepathy. So it's very fun, and there's a lot of rewards to that. So I also recommend that if whoever is doing that, such as yourself. Um, yeah, different abilities and tech that goes into it. I also like working with ETs. Yeah, there's a lot to go off of, but I guess we can wrap it if you want, and we can go ahead and put your information. I'll put up how people can reach me as well.
Okay, yeah. What I did want to say, yes, with haunted objects, I always say if you have to guard it, it's probably not worth keeping around. If you have to be like the gatekeeper of something, it's not worth keeping around. I've thrown so many crystals in the ocean that have gotten haunted. I just let the ocean take care of it at that point, or I let the earth take care of it at that point. I've gotten rid of haunted masks, haunted pictures, paintings, crystals, all sorts of types of stuff that I've attempted to do psychic surgery on myself. I've tried to do timeline surgeries on it myself. And I've been successful in some cases, but in other ones where maybe I'm tired, maybe there's like some stress going on, I'm thinking, okay, this might not be worth it. And so I'm that way too. So
Yeah,
I'm
people need
going to
to
say,
clear it before they come in their house. Like I constantly have to clear everything I buy now before I even bring in my room. And like people like, oh, don't just throw it in the ocean. That's harming the ocean. The ocean's salt water can clear it and compress and quarantine any hauntedness that comes into it. So it's much easier for the ocean. Though I'd say recommend trading with the ocean to be able to accept that from you. So you're not like harming it initially, but eventually it'll turn it into a positive. Especially if you help it to speed that process up from a distance. But yeah, that's the best place to put haunted objects because the ocean's good at it. Continue.
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do it, but yeah, either fire or salt water. I've noticed that fire is one of those almighty balancers as well. I've used it for my notebooks, but on the flip side, salt water. I used to like take demons I would find in equipment, all this other stuff, and capture them in a crystal and then throw the crystal into the ocean while we were on the East Coast. And also, I noticed the closer I got to the ocean, the less ghoulish entities I was seeing, the less types of that I was seeing. So it's actually very interesting. This was brought up to cap this conversation off because I personally have been running into this quite a bit lately. Like what we were saying in my session, it's like, yeah, you can't trust that crystal ever again, or ever again when something like that happens. I've also had to immerse, like outside right now. I have a bucket with 2 large crystals sitting in it in salt water to try to cleanse some things out of it. I kept them too close to what I was doing, and some things were hitting them. So from the burn barrel, I have some particulates from some of that were hitting some of those. So I've had to do some cleansing of those. So and some of the local Fae have complained, and those boggarts, and of course the brownies were complaining that they thought I was polluting the environment, just like you said. The salt water, yeah, you have to do that trade so that if you've messed something up somewhere, it clears it up. Apparently, I wasn't doing it to their liking. So that's essentially the trade-off. Some of them just like to bitch and complain too, but that's how that was. But I'll bring a screenshot up of your website here. I got it up there, and okay, here we go. And everybody, this is where you can find Sean Bond's website, psionicleague.com. This is what the front page looks like right here. You can book a session with himself. And this is actually a very interesting website. We're getting ours worked on too at the moment. But yeah, this looks very interesting to me, the way you have this set up. I like your logo a lot of energy that's coming out of this, a lot of power coming out of your emblem here. And I think that's very interesting. I don't know if you have any screenshots you want to open up at this time.
I didn't know that we'd be doing that, but I'll set that up next time. But feel free to put a screenshot of your site and stuff, and we can put that in. Yeah, and people can reach me on SAC League YouTube. There's also on the site the videos, a bunch of the free videos listed, and the membership login. People can log in; it's free, and there's a lot of video products I made for abilities there. Yeah, we'll be doing more shows and interviews in the future, and events and group meditations. How about with you? How can people reach you and your site, and what you got going on of recent?
Okay, I will just put this up here. Some people wanted me to put screenshots of our site up. I'm typing that in, and it is. Okay, I got it. There we go. We're going to be changing our main website over here fairly soon when the brand new one is up. But this is thelifting.net, where people can come to get appointments with myself and sign up for an appointment. Services here is where you can sign up, and lifting episodes. Our Etsy store is right here, and our other website is. Let's see. I gotta remove that. The other one is galacticinterstellarcouncil.com, where we have a paid subscription of older GIC episodes. Also, we're going to have the Lifting Galactic History content on here when we start to build that up. There is a paid subscription on here, and this is where people can come to see like the paid content right here. If this thing would load, there we go. And this one's rather slow at the moment, but there are episodes me and Joanna did of newer GIC after shows. One of the most recent was with Chadwick Boseman. We channeled him recently. So, and other beings, celebrities, and other elemental type of beings and galactics that have come through. So I hope people enjoy that site and have enjoyed this episode with me and Sean. So I thank all of you for watching this, and please visit his site. Please visit our sites, and thank you everybody. Bye-bye.
Very much. Love you all. Have a wonderful day.
Okay, you saw Sean talk about, me talk about, the different timelines, where, there was the main one we're in, and then there's all these offshoots and different parts of the multiverse. You saw that conversation. Ironically, one of the notebooks I burnt shortly thereafter was a TARDIS notebook. And that's basically symbolic of a certain timeline being locked in. Even though there's also the synchronicity there of time can be rewritten as well. That's a motto that Doctor Who used quite a bit. So I find that as a very interesting synchronicity, or part of the overall set of synchronicities that's happened in the past several days. Some of those are their own recording, but you get the idea. Did it shortly after. It took me a bit to photograph it, but it went in the barrel, this one, after a while. So I'll leave it here. Just know that also me doing this, as we were talking about, me having to quarantine those changes to myself, causing chaos around. And there are people that live near us now that are possibly susceptible either with Alzheimer's or dementia. So any energetic changes, it drives them crazy. So quarantining it to yourself is paramount in situations like that. So, and also I'm seeing a mirror of things that happened in my own history, like with relatives. So my grandmother had it pretty bad. So I'm starting to see that the younger person, one of the younger people next door, doesn't know not to argue with that. So the energies that I was correcting and some of the notebooks I was burning had information from that time frame. And by sending it out, just like the local boggarts and local brownies and stuff were complaining about, that you heard me talk about, this was the complaint. Even though they weren't right in trying to rush me, still, it was making waves in other places. So quarantining that is definitely paramount as you're doing work like that, where it does affect the overall area. They kept saying, oh, you're polluting the area. Well, now I get what they were truly saying. So I have to quarantine that as I'm doing it energetically. You have to make it a ritual. And that's what I've been doing, is making a ritual, but I forgot about the quarantining. You do that for house clearings too. You quarantine and disassemble or transmute the demon that's in there. Cut the head off, disassemble, transmute, and it doesn't try to run to somebody else's house. Most people that do exorcisms and do house clearings will shove it, they'll just throw it out of the house and it just goes somewhere else. That means you have to transmute it while it's there. I always say kill it, cut its head off, but you know what I'm saying. So I'll leave it here. It is 5 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Monday, November 14th, 2022. Thank you. In doing this, I'm seeing the effects next door. It's showing reflections of those past timelines, the corrections, or mirrors of what was being burned. It's like it's letting off something in the environment. It's like some of the trapped things that are there are going boom, and spreading in the environment. That's not something you want. I didn't expect it to be like the energetic equivalent to an atomic bomb. I figured it was just, going to clear the fire, was going to clear the energies. Obviously more is needed. Salt, obviously I have some around protecting my crystals, but it's doing this as it's burning. And, with the TARDIS notebook, even though it is benign, it's still a symbol. It's still, time can be rewritten. Time is, that timeline's coming undone and rewriting. And it's showing the reflections as it's going backwards, showing the reflections of doing that. This is why I wish I could do it all at once. So I guess the brownies, again, had a slightly legitimate grievance. They just went about it the wrong way. So I was wondering what the hell they were bitching about. It's that can. It's this. So, yeah. You got to be careful. You got to quarantine. And I can feel it right now from the can. So I am going to have to dump some salt into it, and I'll report more as I know more. So it is 5:06 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Monday, November 14th, 2022. Thank you. I was also wondering why I was seeing reflections and this mad, set of emotions from back when we were around my grandmother. And it was because of the notebook's energy. It was from that, because a lot of that was written. Some of that was written from around that time. where she was starting to decay, and we weren't noticing, and we were doing the arguing, and we were doing the emotional roller coaster and wrestling, and that's what was happening. That's happening with the neighbor. So that's a mirroring. That's the most I've been able to figure out so far. So far of what I could tell. I put salt in the barrel. We'll see what comes after this as I start to do more. So the projects become paramount at this point. So once you start it, you must finish it. With any ritual, once you start it, you must finish it. Any tools that are involved in it must then be disposed of afterwards. So only use what you can stand to lose. Like I use just a stick to tend to the fire. I don't put anything that I can stand to get rid of, or can't stand to get rid of. So, and the can, it goes. Its lid goes. Anything goes. That's with it. So, got to remember that you can't keep any part and piece of anything, no matter how sentimental it is. Must go. And like with the notebooks, all parts and pieces burned. Anything you're trying to clear, all parts and pieces, just like they show in the Witcher video game. Every piece, component with the life of whatever Geralt was trying to clear, or the person he was trying to honor. All parts had to go, regardless of how valuable the piece was. So, just remember this. It is 5:11. Oh, hang on. It's also had to do with my skulls. Had to get rid of them. Somebody has some dolls that they're trying to get rid of. They weren't ever going to allow the owner to sell them. So they always carried those timelines of energies and would always try to hold the space, so that you had to just get rid of them and renounce and revoke ownership. But in the case of the notebooks, it's every part and piece. If you're burning something, it must be burned to cinder. Also submerged in salt water. I found it as another way to do it. That's slightly more lengthy, but it does work. You can throw things in the ocean. If it's paper, just throw it in the ocean. If you just happen to be out near salt water, it works. I've done it before. I took crystals that had bound entities into it. When we were on our cruise, I threw it in the middle of the Atlantic, going to the Bahamas. I threw it on a ferry going to and from Ocracoke Island. That's how I would dispose of them. I figured, okay, let the Gartha network deal with it. Let the salt and sea deal with it. And it does. Remember, all four elements: earth, air, fire, water. I just happen to be including the fifth one, metal. That's from Japan. That's the metal can I'm using. But it's all earth, air, fire, water. And it tends to work. So at some point I'm going to have to douse the inside of that. But it works. It's sitting on the earth, under the sky, fire, and water. So I'll leave that here. It's 5:12 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Monday, November 14th, 2022. Thank you. To conclude the boggart brownie bit that's happened here. If you see things darting around the corners of your house, around, like you get up to go to the bathroom or something, you go down a hall and you see things dart around corners, that's usually them, and gnomes and other little elementals and such. Sometimes it's spirit animals, but it's usually these little guys that are in your house screwing around. I've noticed this, some friends of mine have noticed this, and sometimes it's little shadows that look to be about a foot and a half high, and you're actually seeing them. So I wanted to point that out as well. If you're seeing that, you're not just seeing things out of the corner of your eye, you're actually seeing them. They're hoping you didn't notice them. They're hoping you think it's just an optical illusion or a trick of the light and shadow. But it's them. So it is 11:46 p.m. Arizona Standard Time, Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Thank you.